Okay, welcome to Gospel Doctrine. We are going to be doing Doctrine and Covenants, section 12 to 17, but in 3 separate videos. So I'm going to do section 12, and then I'm going to do section 13, and then I'm going to do 14 to 17. So you can watch as many or as few of those as you would like. The reason I'm doing this format is so that I can do screen sharing and so that I can get this done ahead of time. So I am now going to go to the PowerPoint, which I've prepared. There you go. And we want to make it big. There we are. So as I said, we're going to be talking about section 12 first, then 13 and the Joseph Smith history portion. And then finally, we'll get to Doctrine and Covenants 14 to 17. So section 12, we start with. This is a favorite of mine because it's a revelation given to Joseph Knight Sr. This is his home in Colesville, New York, and some of the farmland that he owned. He is a very successful farmer who met Joseph Smith in 1825, and his family, the Colesville Saints and the Knight family, will be faithful right to the end. And books have been written about them. I am one of probably 75,000 to 100,000 descendants, so I'm certainly not alone. Among the books, let me switch back to stop sharing. There we go. Among the books that have been written, the oldest one is by William Hartley, and it's called They Are My Friends. Excellent book. I think this may be backwards, but life goes on. You're welcome to borrow it. Here's the more recent version, which is entitled Stand by My Servant Joseph, the story of the Joseph Knight family and the restoration, again by Hartley. He's an honorary member of the family now. And then there's also lots of ensign articles about the Knights, and Sons of the Utah Pioneers even published one magazine all about them. So there's a lot available to read about the Knight family, which is interesting because none of them held any major positions. No apostles, no members of the First Presidency, just regular members of the church like us. And so I think that that's one of the things that really makes them special. So back to their farm. It was 1825 when Joseph Knight and a neighbor of his named Josiah Stoll, who lives about 5 miles away, heard about Joseph Smith and his ability to find valuable things. And they would travel 115 miles. That's how far it is from Colesville to Palmyra, Manchester area, to hire Joseph to work for them. One of the things that word had gotten around that Joseph could find that was valuable was water, using perhaps a stone or a dowsing rod, like Oliver Cowdery will have. The rod of Aaron was something that he used to find water. These were valuable skills that Joseph and others used. There's a well in the front yard of the Knight family home that historians believe Joseph dug and found water, and there is still water in it today. So while Joseph was working for Joseph Knight and Josiah Stoll, he lodged at the home of the Hales over in Harmony, which is about 20 miles away, and that is where he met Emma. Both of the Knights and the Hales were all prosperous farmers. Brother Knight owned hundreds of acres and operated grain mills, carding mills, sawmills. You can see he's got a river right there next to him. Joseph was also friends with the sons of the men that he worked for. He was very good friends with Newell Knight and with Josiah Stoll Jr. The very first miracle in the church occurred right near here. Newell Knight was attending a prayer meeting and was called upon to pray and refused to pray in public and left the meeting. Shortly thereafter, a messenger came to tell Joseph to come and help, that Newell had been possessed. And so Joseph went, succeeded to Newell's home, succeeded in grasping him by the hand and asking if he had faith that Jesus Christ could save him. And Newell said yes. And so based on Newell's faith, Joseph cast the devil out of him. Joseph records that in the history of the church as the first miracle of the church. Joseph Knight encouraged, okay, let's see. This is not advancing like it's supposed to. There we go. Okay. Joseph encouraged the courtship of Joseph and Emma. He let Joseph borrow his buggy to court Emma. He also let him borrow some nice clothes and boots. After Joseph and Emma married in January of 1827, it was Joseph Knight who drove them up to Manchester, which is where Joseph Smith's family lives, near Palmyra. Smith had told both of these men about his first vision and about the angel and the gold plates, and they both believed him. They knew that in September of 1827, Joseph was due to receive the plates from the angel Moroni, and so they drove the 115 miles in a wagon, both Josiah Stoll and Joseph Knight, in order to be there when Joseph got the plates. Joseph borrowed that wagon and Josiah Stoll's horse and took Emma with him that night to get the plates. Now, due to harassment that Joseph and Emma received in Manchester, repeated attempts to steal the plates, he and Emma moved down to her father's farm in Harmony, Pennsylvania. It was there that Joseph Knight made one of the copies of the characters from the plates. Now, Joseph Knight and Emma Smith both made copies, as well as a copy made by Martin Harris. We don't know who copied whose and who actually saw the plates, whether Joseph made the original copy. But neither Joseph Knight nor Emma claimed to have seen the plates, and yet they copied the characters from them. Martin took those with him when he went east to try and find a scholar who could translate them. At the time, they apparently believed that the Book of Mormon plates were written in an ancient Native American language. And so those were the experts that Martin Harris went to see. Failing in that, because as you remember, he was told, let me see the plates, I can't read a sealed book. Martin came back, and then he and Emma worked with Joseph and were the scribes to to write down what he said on the fool's cap paper that the Book of Mormon translation was written on. It was at this point that the Smiths' first son, Alvin, was born and died. And then Martin took the 116 pages that they had written and lost them. It was at least a year later when another scribe came to help, and that was Oliver Cowdery. Oliver had boarded with the Smith family back in Manchester while teaching their children in the local school. That's how you would pay the teacher for teaching your kids, was let him live with you and you help to feed him. While he was with them, he heard the stories about Joseph and the first vision and the gold plates. And at the end of the school year in April, he determined to meet Joseph Smith, and so he walked the 115 miles down to Harmony. Together, Joseph and Oliver would spend the next 2 months finishing the entire translation of the Book of Mormon. During this time, they were unable to work as well in their fields to provide for the family. And so it really was the offerings of Joseph Knight, bringing shoes, money, a barrel of mackerel, fool's cap writing paper, 10 bushels of grain, and 6 bushels of taters, as he wrote, that would significantly help move the work forward. Fool's cap paper, by the way, is named for the watermark in the paper that looks like the cap of a fool. So that's where the name comes from. It was on one of his visits, one of Joseph Knight's visits to the prophet Joseph, in May of 1829, when they were about halfway done with the Book of Mormon translation, that Joseph Knight asked to know how he could really be of more assistance. He wanted to do more. And so at his request, Joseph Smith inquired of the Lord and received section 12. You'll notice that it is very similar to section 4 and section 11, which had previously been given to Joseph Smith Sr. and Hiram Smith. Great and marvelous work is about to come forth. Thrust in the two-edged, my word is a two-edged sword. Thrust in your sickle and reap, for the field is white and ready to harvest, and you will gain salvation for your own soul. And whosoever thrusteth in his sickle, the same is called of God. Ask and you will receive, knock and it shall be opened unto you. These are all themes that we've heard before, and apparently they're meant for all of us, right? Not just for Joseph Smith Sr., not just for Hiram Smith, not just for Joseph Knight. And so it's fascinating to me that having done so much to help Emma and Joseph, he just wants to do more. And what you are called to do is based on what you want. He that has desires is called to the work. Verse 9, give heed with all your might, and then you're to be called. You'll be called. So if there's something that you really feel like you want to do in the church, let the Lord know you're available and ask how you can help. How badly do you want to serve? How much service have you chosen to do voluntarily, like Joseph Knight did? How much have you given to help others in need in terms of time and money and support? Now, verse 6, I think, is critical here, because it mentions that Joseph Knight was seeking to bring forth and establish the cause of Zion and helping one another, helping the poor, as Joseph Knight has been doing, the poor being Joseph and Emma, is how we're told we're going to establish Zion in these last days. But it has to be done with certain traits. Verse 8, no one can assist in that work except he or she shall be humble and full of love, having faith, hope, and charity, being temperate in all things. Whatsoever shall be entrusted to his or her care. So whatever you're called to do, are you trusted to take it on? Now, apparently, Joseph Knight really took this revelation seriously, because over the next year, this is 1829, by April of the next year, he will take 25 family members with him up to Palmyra, to Manchester, to Fayette, to be a part of the organization of the church. So fully 1/3 of the people there for the organization of the church are Knight family members. Emma Smith herself was baptized in the river by the Knight home at one of the many meetings that they held to preach the gospel. The Colesville branch of the church was organized that month with Newell as the leader of 60 members. And here's a list of the original Colesville branch members. Virtually all of them, other than a few exceptions like Josiah Stoll, are family members, because the Knights, their daughters married the Carters and the Pecks and the Slades and the DeMills. And so these are all, Polly Peck is Joseph Knight's wife. So these are his brother and sisters-in-law and nieces and nephews. The Colesville Saints, 60 people, will stay together as a group, supporting each other as they will sell all their farms, these beautiful farms, and move to the Kirtland, Ohio area. And remain, a vast majority of them remain faithful until their deaths. So we should note that after the Smith family, the second family to join the church is Joseph Knight and his relatives. After them will come the Whitmer family, who are the relatives of Oliver Cowdery. So those are the three families at the original organization of the church: the Smiths, the Whitmers, including Oliver Cowdery, and the Knights, with a few other people, including Martin Harris and Joseph's boyhood friend, Orrin Porter Rockwell, and his sister. Let's read a statement that Joseph made about the Knight family. Before his death, the prophet Joseph praised the Knight family for standing by me in every hour of peril these 15 years past. Of Father Knight, the prophet wrote, he was among the number of the first to administer to my necessities. For 15 years, he has been faithful and true, even-handed and exemplary and virtuous and kind, never deviating from the right hand or to the left. Behold, he is a righteous man. May God Almighty lengthen out the old man's days. May his trembling, tortured, and broken body be renewed. And it shall be said of him by the sons of Zion, while there is one of them remaining, that this man, was a faithful man in Israel. To Joseph Knight's sons, the prophet Joseph paid a simple and moving tribute. These are his sons, Newell Knight and Joseph Knight Jr., whose names I record in the book of the law of the Lord with unspeakable delight, for they are my friends. I cannot think of a greater compliment that a prophet could give than he gave to the Knight family. And yet, they're just regular members, doing what the regular members do. The reality is that they were ministering angels to Joseph and Emma, who enabled Joseph to do what the Lord needed him to do. Now, there's a lot of amazing places that you can go and learn more about the Knights. For example, BYU has recorded about 100 tours of church history sites. It's at a site called byujourneys.org. And they will take you to Colesville and show you where the Knight family lived. They'll even show you inside the house, which has been restored. It was purchased and restored, not by the church, but just by regular members, descendants of Joseph Knight, who wanted to honor his memory. And if you want to, you can, if you have desires, you're called to the work, and you can go and work as a docent and live in Joseph Knight's home and take people on tours of that home back in Colesville. So if you're one of his descendants and you want to do that, you can go and be a guide. There's a series of wonderful videos available at Doctrine and Covenants Central. Now that's the same as Book of Mormon Central. And these are by Scott Woodward. He has done a masterful job of giving a short, you can see that this one is 6.5 minutes, background to each of the sections of the Doctrine and Covenants. So go there. Now, all of these places, all of these links I have listed in a document, which I have sent to Sister Bradley, and that will be sent out to you so that you can use it. I may be able to link it below the video. We'll see if that works. Another place you can go is to the Knight Family website, josephknightfamily.org. And among the things that it has there are PowerPoint presentations and videos and all kinds of things about the Knight family. But they have a craft project there where kids can make their own model of the wagon and horse that Joseph borrowed to pick up the gold plates. You can also read about the Knight family, and in this case, the Whitmer family, in an online resource, which is linked to our Come Follow Me lessons entitled Revelations in Context. Now, this is also available as a hard copy book that you can buy, but you can find it simply by clicking on the links in the digital version of the Come Follow Me lessons for personal and family use online. It's a great resource to learn about the context of the various revelations. Next, if you go to that josephknightfamily.org, there's a PowerPoint that will take you literally on a road trip and tell you how to find each of the locations that the Knight family lived in. And this goes all the way back to England and brings them through the eastern United States into New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Missouri. The Knight family was the very first family to be sent to Missouri. The first person, the first Mormon who died in Missouri was Polly Peck Knight, Joseph Knight's wife, who died just days after she arrived there. Then they went back to Nauvoo, and then they headed west with Brigham Young and the other saints, with Father Knight dying in Mount Pisgah before they even got to Council Bluffs, and Newell Knight dying at an Indian reservation where he was sent to raise food for near Council Bluffs, to raise food for other people coming after him. So to provide for other pioneers, that's where Newell went, and that's where Newell died. Now, next, and maybe most important of the videos, this is a link that you can go to from Come Follow Me. It's a video that somebody, it wasn't the church, somebody felt impressed to make these videos, entitled Days of Harmony. And it's the story of the translation of the Book of Mormon and the restoration of the priesthood as told by Oliver Cowdery. It is wonderful, and it's filmed on location. And it is found by going to your Come Follow Me manual online at churchofjesuschrist.org. Go to Come Follow Me, Doctrine and Covenants, go to this lesson, and when you find the yellow box, which we've looked at before, click on the little words that say View Now. And when you click on that, this sidebar opens, and one of the options in the sidebar that you can click on is the video, Days of Harmony, and watch it there. I also include the link in my document. This is well worth watching. for family home evening or on Sunday afternoon. It's my testimony that it's the average, everyday members of the church who are a very important part of the building of Zion. And that without your efforts, without the great things that you are impressed to do, just that the Spirit tells you to go and do, when you respond to that, you're building and bringing about the cause of Zion. And you may be helping a prophet unawares, that you might have that incredible opportunity in your life by moving when the Spirit prompts you, is my prayer for you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Now you're going to want to go and find the second video. That's the one on section 13. So let's now stop recording and we'll make section 13.